Okay, so hello, Kieran. Thank you for doing this interview. And I understand you've done a lot of interviews so far. I've watched actually most most all the interviews you've done, and I understand there's a lot of time and effort putting into talking to everyone. But I really appreciate you talking to the community like this. This really helps out a lot of people that have questions and just want to get involved with the game. But in this interview, I just wanted to do some clarification on previous questions related to some of the things that was asked, but perhaps we could expand upon them. Because, I don't want to go and just redo all the questions we've done already. I'm pretty sure people know everything so far. So in this AMA, I'm going to try to moderate a little bit so we don't elaborate too much on stuff that we've already covered. Just, move along real quickly
Easy.
to all these questions. And the first question is, like Halo, if you've ever played the game Halo or Call of Duty, some of the features in Halo and Call of Duty, like for example, Halo had a campaign mode, but I guess after time went on, people understood that the multiplayer is probably like the best thing about the game. So you'll see people doing more multiplayer than the campaign. Call of Duty's has zombies, but I would say the PvP is probably the best feature about that game as well. So my question is, with Illuvium, I understand they have a story mode and they have maybe capturing the alluvials going out there in the open world. But what do you feel is going to be the main focus of the game? Is it going to be capturing? Is it going to be training stuff up, farming, or is it going to be actually the battles?
I think it will be the battles, which is going to make Aaron very, very happy. But I'm more the collector type. I like the Pokemon style of the open world. It's really beautiful. There's an abundance of different characters to collect. But if I'm being real, I think where the esports is going to lie, where the real competition, the strategy, it all lies in the auto battler. And so that's my hunch is that's where it's going to stick.
Yeah, so I was actually listening to some other YouTubers talk about the battling, and they were mentioning that when you get into battle, you're going to be fighting for ETH. And I thought about that. Well, wait a minute. This actually sounds pretty scary. I could lose a lot. So the battling seems pretty scary. Could you expand upon how much are we going to be betting on, or how much are we going to put out there? Could I go broke actually fighting people, or how is this going to work?
I mean, theoretically, if you're crazy enough, you could go broke. But if I was you, if you're risk averse, then I would stay out of the Leviathan arena. That's
so
basically
there's ranks.
Yeah, so there's multiple arenas. There's a ranked arena where you'll come up against someone that's your exact level or very, very close to it, and you're going to have a pretty even battle. And then there's a Leviathan arena where there's no normalizing of the characters. Literally, you can come in as a whale, and the feature of that arena is that you can put down a bet of ETH, and the winner takes all in that mode.
Okay, so there's you guys have some sort of algorithm where when we're getting into the matches, there's a rank, right? I guess the Leviathan is the highest, but when you go into battle, you're basically fighting people at your level. Are you guys ranking people by what level of alluvials they have, or how much stuff they've done in the game, so that we of a certain placement you can put them in with everyone else? Because the fear is that we have some whales coming in that have bought everything up on the first day or whatever, and then they just win everyone as soon as they start.
It's essentially your skill level. So the Leviathan arena is a completely separate arena. It's almost like a separate game mode. And so the ranked mode is its own arena where you go into and you're going up against people of your same skill level. So it doesn't matter if someone comes in with a whole bunch of money and has a really high level team, because they get all of the stats of the alluvials get normalized in the ranked arena. Right. And that's how we make sure that it's balanced. But in the Leviathan arena, that is where someone can come in with, all tier 5s and potentially start wrecking people that are not so experienced.
Right. So I want to shift topics a little bit and talk about the. I was speculating on this, but it may be wrong. Some people said there was something else that this did, but basically in Illuvium Zero, there was like a machine that had an alluvial on it, and then it was like I think it said something about scouting. So my question is, does Illuvium Zero does it open up access to other alluvials that we don't find naturally in the environment? Because, like for example, if we're going in the environment in the open world, we can't just discover any alluvial. Maybe we have to like go through a process.
That is so it doesn't, but
Okay.
That and my head is now churning right now because I'm thinking that is a pretty cool way of introducing new alluvials, especially once they're found, they need to be openly available to anyone in Elluvium.
Yeah.
But the person who first discovers that alluvial that happens to go past their land would almost be famous because they're literally scouting out the first sighting of a new creature.
Yeah, because discovery is actually a really cool feature and a really nice thing when you're out there in the open world looking for these things. But this actually expands to another question that I had about rare alluvials that you find. So I'm assuming that there are going to be like a shiny or a holographic type of alluvial that you can find in the wilderness, and so perhaps there's some mathematics involved if you maybe 1 in 1,000 that you'll actually discover these things. So if, for example, you see this thing and you don't catch it and it runs off, is that still existing in the world for someone else to catch, or is it going back into the randomness of people finding it again?
Yeah, so it's just basically an instance that pops up. So if you miss that, there is an algorithm in the back end for every single alluvial. They're actually tied to a bonding curve. So they get rarer and rarer as they get the more they get caught. And again, yes, you're right. There are different types of rarity. So there's the normal alluvials, and then you've got the hollow alluvials. Then you've got the rainbow hollow, and then you've got the dark hollow, which is the rarest alluvial that you can find.
Okay. So let's just move on to some more topics here about minting an illuvitar in round 2. Okay, this was my question here. So, for example, in round 1, we'll have illuvitars, and then we can mint these and get these, these minted. But then we move on to round 2. The question I'm trying to ask is, if we hold on to an illuvitar before we mint it, and then it moves into round 2, can we still mint that in round 2 and get that old minting that we should have got? Or is that gone forever?
No. So there's no sort of ability to pre-mint, like to pre-purchase. Like once you purchase, you're minting that illuvitar. So that'll go straight into your wallet. But it's an NFT. It lasts. It's not. You're never going to lose it unless, of course, you sell it. But the way that it sort of ties into set 2 is we want them to be limited. And so you can either do that by saying there's a limited quantity. And the reason we don't want to do that is we don't know how many people are going to want these. Right. And it's not really meant to be a revenue generating exercise. It's meant to be everyone in Elluvium is able to access an avatar that they would like to use within game.
No problem. Okay, so I'm just going to try and move on to these questions because I know we're time sensitive here. So I'll just try and get as many of as I can.
Oh, good.
The land sale. So this was a little confusing for me, and someone touched on this question, but I want to try and maybe reiterate it and expand on it a little bit. With the land sales, we have... So this was what I was confused with. When the land sale goes live, is it like a 3-round thing? Like where we have 3 days to get the land and after 3 days it's gone? Or is it as soon as it starts, we have a certain amount, like 20,000, and you just, when the price deteriorates, then you can jump in and get the one that you want. Is that how it's going to work?
So, pretty close. So there's going to be 20,000 plots, all different tiers. we've batched them, so you're going to get in each batch you'll get an array of tier 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. So it's not going to be a situation of like all the tier 4s come in one section of the auction, then all the tier 3s and all tier 2s. So we're trying to make accessibility and fairness across the board. And the way that it works in terms of like the pricing is it's a Dutch auction. And so we start them off much higher than what we believe they will go for. And the idea is then you find fair market value once people start but once someone believes that the tier or the plot or whatever has reached a price that they're comfortable with, that's when they can strike and they can purchase it. And then someone else coming in can look and go, okay, what was the last tier 4 purchase for? And you find this balance of a fair price discovery by using this mechanism.
I see. So we'll be able to see when they purchase, and this helps us understand.
Yeah.
So will they have like a number, like, okay, I'm really gunning for tier 3s, tier 4s, and when this starts, will I be able to know, like, okay, we only have 200 tier 3s left, so I got to get it today or it's gone? Will it be something like that?
Well, the idea is in the last batch that will have a combination of, so the last hour of the sale will still have a tier 1, 2, 3, and very, very most likely a 4 as well.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so let's just move on to the next thing. Let's talk about SLV. SLV will be burned. This was the question. When we use the land, or when we use SLV for the land, will this be burned or will it be put back into the pool? Will it be like recycled? And will the value go up? Like, because I think it's pegged to the ILV when the land sell, could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's not, it is pegged to ILV. The Treasury doesn't, so effectively what happens is people can purchase in ETH or SILV. If they purchase in SILV, it essentially gets burned, right? So and why that's important is it means that whenever someone mints that SILV, it takes an ILV out of circulation. And so while our total total tokens are at 10 million, they potentially could go down to 7 million depending on how many SILV over the next 3 years gets minted.
Okay, and so like this is what I was thinking. Like, if I hold on to one SILV for like 20 years and it's all burned, is that like something that's supposed to happen and then the value goes to like 100,000 or something? Is that even?
Well, theoretically, maybe.
Is all the SLV going to be burned and then I could just hold on to one?
Theoretically, yes. I mean, but then is there going to be 1,000 of you? Is there going to be 100 of you that hold on to one SILV? I don't know.
Okay, so moving along, you were mentioned in, you can decline to answer this, but you were mentioned in a game called Sin City. So is this just collaboration that you're doing with other companies for them to create NFTs for Illuvium, or are you guys actually working on something that's coming out in the future? Is Illuvium expanding, because you were talking about the Illuvium universe, but not the metaverse? So I'm just curious, like, what are the future plans for Illuvium?
Yeah, so a lot of projects use the term metaverse. The reason I don't for Illuvium is that I believe there's only one metaverse, very similar to how Facebook has joined the metaverse. They're not creating their own metaverse, and it's our job as builders to create fun, immersive products that people want to actually play and join. And so the partnership side of it is all about tapping into those. We don't have a very large and active market of gamers in this ecosystem yet, because it's just so early. And so what we want to do is we want to position ourselves with the bigger guys in the space and partner and collaborate with each other's communities, create, NFTs that we can potentially do giveaways with. Further down the line, interoperable opportunities might arise. We just want to align ourselves with brands like that.
I wanted to ask, I have maybe 5 more questions. I'm going to go really fast with this.
No worries.
Okay, this was a question about the future. I noticed you said this, I think, in another interview, but I'll ask it again. Or I'll ask this because I thought I heard this. Does Elluvium have any plans to go on to console? Because there was talks about, not every person in these other countries has a laptop or a PC, but they do have mobile. But what about, console gamers? Because to be honest, I'm actually not a PC gamer. I'm a mobile gamer, but I can play console. So what I'm going to have to do is connect a controller to my PC and work that way. How many buttons are we going to use on the keyboard? So maybe I can integrate that into 10 buttons. Are you guys going to be on Xbox, or what's the plans with that?
We're not. There's no plans for console yet. Obviously, we're building a very large studio, so I'm never going to rule it out. But we're certainly focused on desktop and mobile for now.
Desktop. Okay. So and with the buttons, is there going to be more than 10 keys that we need to push on the keyboard for all the things we're going to use?
Now
I am going to be playing on a controller.
Probably not. I reckon
it's an auto battler, so maybe not that much. Yeah.
The overworld, even the overworld, you should be able to get it done with 10 buttons, I reckon.
Okay. Let's move on to the next question. So I understand there's going to be a beta launch. Is that something similar to a soft launch where are you guys going to do a soft launch where you're going to release it to certain countries to see if the glitches and everything are out there for people to play it? Or is it just going to be live for everyone to play? Because some soft launches, you can actually purchase stuff in there and then, keep that when it goes live. Or are you guys just going to do the beta and then move on to the public launch?
So all of the stuff that's done in the private betas, and there's 2 of them. The first one is coming up hopefully in Jan if everything goes well, and that one is going to be a private beta, and so that will be available to a diverse group of people depending on your background. You might be a streamer, you might be a pro gamer, you might be a casual gamer, you might be a massive crypto fan. We want to get a very eclectic group together to give us as much accurate feedback as possible. Then we'll go into beta 2. And so beta 1, it'll be super, super closed, private. You won't see any content coming out of it unless we do a little bit of marketing around it, which we probably will. But then private beta 2, that's when you'll start seeing streamers. It'll go out to 5,000 people, so it'll be much, much bigger cohort. And those people will be allowed to start streaming it out, and we'll have polished off and fixed up a bunch of bugs by then.
No problem. Okay, so this one, I think 3 questions left. I'm going to try 2 of them, tie 2 of them into one. Will there be, I understand we have to cure shards, and that's going to be how we can capture these alluvials. But is there a way we can, for example, in Pokemon, you have a Master Ball. So where you throw that, they can't get away. So I'm really concerned if I find, a rare type, I don't want him to get away. I need something strong to make sure he doesn't get away. So are there going to be stronger shards or something we could use? And the second one is, could you talk about the social aspect of the game? Are you going to incorporate guilds? Are we going to have a global chat on the sidebar where we can talk to people, or how's that going to work?
So a tier 5 shard should, I'm not going to say it's a master ball where you know that there's no chance of it getting away, but I'm fairly certain when Aaron and I were speaking about this, it's a 99.5% chance. We want to leave that little slight chance of everything lines up and that guy's spent a whole bunch of money and he's just missed it and he's the unluckiest person alive. But we also don't want that situation to happen a bunch of times. So that's the answer to that. In terms of the guilds, and will we have a universal conversation that's constantly going? Something that we've thought about. it's definitely not a guarantee that we are going to have. We're working with a bunch of guilds now on how the best way to onboard them so they can be integrated into the game at a blockchain level, and also at like a community level as well. But nothing is set in stone yet.
Okay. So I was doing a little research, and people were saying you can get a scholarship in Illuvium. I'm like, whoa, I could actually get my PhD, a decentralized PhD. But no, it's actually I think you're renting out stuff to people, and then they could like borrow it. Okay, yeah. So I learned that today. So skip that question. This is an audience question. How many alluvials could you end up with from one travel fee, or is there no limits to how many you can catch? Is there anything? Oh yeah. So that was the question. Is there any limits to how many you can get when you travel? Depending on the fee, I guess that was the question. What's the max amount you can get? What's the max amount of alluvials you can get when you go on a travel?
It hasn't been set yet. The parameters around that.
Okay.
No, we're working through it with our economists now. There's a lot of balancing that goes into that, but yeah, hasn't been set yet.
Okay. Last two questions. I'll make these fast. YouTube. Okay. So I think in one interview you said that you would take care of the YouTubers. So this is something that I think would actually help marketing and promote the game, is if you can give what some gaming studios do is they have some of their YouTubers, they get a chat room set up, and then they have something like a fan kit. And in the fan kit, they put PNG files of the characters or in-game content so that they can use for thumbnails, because the thumbnails are really appealing. And I think like 70 or 80% of all the people that discover the game will be in YouTube. They're not going to just go Google it, but they're going to like browse YouTube to find it. And if they see a thumbnail that looks good, I think having YouTubers with access to some of the game files would really help us out.
Yeah, so we already have that, and I can definitely give you access straight after this. But once the actual game is out, tapping into the marketing side of it, how we look after streamers is we're going to have something called stream yield, which essentially will be this bucket where streamers can tap into each week. And the more views that you get from videos that you do of our content, you will actually be able to dip into that yield. And that yield will be made up of ILV tokens. And so the more you stream, the better you stream, the bigger your audience, the more you earn. Very, very simple mechanics.
Pretty simplistic. So this was the last question. This was actually more of a personal question for me, because I've actually, I told you about the whole thing with my issue with being hacked. And I actually just got, today, I just got a Ledger S Nano. And so this is the thing that I know this is inevitable. I think this will happen in Elluvium, where you're going to have people that have been playing the game for a year or more, and then they get hacked and their account is compromised. So I was thinking, like, is this even possible? Like, is it possible to have like a third party or something where we could opt in to a KYC, so that if we get hacked, for example, you could look, okay, he registered himself over there. That's what he looks like. If you can verify that, then we'll give you the account back from this hacker that got it. Is there anything that you could protect players from if they get their accounts hacked?
It's a very, very, very tricky question to answer, and it's something that we're debating right now, actually, because we're in the middle of doing the account creation process. And I'm on the side of more Web3. If you do get hacked, unfortunately, if your wallet gets compromised, that's it. the downfall of
that's what I'm scared of.
All of that money, and I get that, but the benefits of having that trustless and permissionless system,
I understand,
is amazing. But then the downside is, you're going to get a whole bunch of sad players and so I think we're going to come up with something that is a bit of a hybrid. And so there will be the ability to play our game by simply just connecting up your wallet. But at the same time, there will be an avenue for you to go down to register your account and put in all the details that you want.
Yes.
What we do with that, like the actual customer service route of how we actually tackle that, hasn't been finalized yet, but it's hotly
you're still in debate, and I completely understand, because I understand the whole issue with being decentralized and not leaving any marks for people to to screw with, but that's just my concern. And I know this is going to happen when the game launches. You're going to have people that are getting hacked and compromised. But I'm just, it just gives me a little peace of mind that, hey, I played this game for 3 years and I got hacked, but there's some sort of rescue for me. But that's up for debate if you guys want to do that. And, I want to say thank you so much for your time, Kieran. It's been amazing for you to come on to my channel here and give us more insight into the game. I'm really excited for the game when it's launched, and hopefully we could do this more in the future. Thank you.
100%. No worries. Thanks, Joseph.
Thank you very much.